When I play with my dinosaurs, I imagine these dinosaurs walking the earth and fighting each other because I'm not alive to see.
My name is Angelina DeMonte and I do special effects makeup. I got started in special effects makeup 2 years ago, and I went to Fright Fest at Six Flags, and they had all the zombies walking around at night, and I thought it was really cool. So the next day I went home and I tried to mimic it and kind of copy it and make it my own. So I started doing the zombie makeup with my sister, and I had her walking around the house as a zombie. I enjoy doing special effects makeup because it gives me a chance to be creative, and I get to let my imagination fly and kind of do whatever I want with it. I think the most difficult thing is when you don't have certain materials and you have to build prosthetics, but it gives you a chance to kind of work off of what you have and be really creative and build the stuff yourself and figure it out. My favorite makeup that I've ever done was kind of like the bottom half of
Good morning.
It looks like it exploded.
Thank you.
Out, but the top.
Sorry,
of my
it's
face,
just I
my
kept
eyes
talking
were
and
done
nothing
all,
was coming out.
They were very glamorous.
If everybody could start to get settled in, that would be really great. Thank you. Dana's right here.
Oh, there she, okay. She snuck up on me. Oh, okay. Tell her to ignore my text.
Do I have everyone up here? The second general session of the 120th Annual Convention of the New York State PTA will come to order. Please stand as Amani Messiah Dehem, Central Hudson Region Director, offers an inspirational moment. Where's my page?
As I looked for the meaning of the word inspire, I went to dictionary.com. I found several meanings, a page long. I'll share some of them with you, and you'll see what I learned. First meaning, to fill with an animation, quickening, or exciting influence. For example, her courage inspired her followers. Second, to produce or arouse a feeling, thought, etc. Example, to inspire confidence in others. Third meaning, to influence or impel. Example, competition inspired her to greater efforts. Fourth, to animate as an influence, feeling, or the like. Example, they were inspired by a belief in a better future. Fifth meaning I found, to arouse with a particular emotion or to a particular action. Example, stir emotion, prompt action. Swear to God, this was all in dictionary.com. In the medical field, inspire means a totally different word. It means inhale. Always remember to breathe in and breathe out. In thesaurus, I found synonyms for inspiration. Among them were encouragement, enthusiasm, genius, incentive, influence, insight, motivation, revelation, vision, approach, awakening, brainchild, brainstorm, creativity, elevation, illumination, motive, notion, spark, stimulation, thought, deep think, among others. You all inspire me every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Amani. You may be seated. Thank you, Imani. Impactful words that remind us of the impact we can make to every child with one voice. We are fortunate today to have with us the Ballston Spa High School PTSA Jazz Band, directed by Tracy DeRagon from the Ballston Spa High School, and she is their music coordinator. So, welcome. What a great job. Tracy, if you could come up, we would like to just give you an acknowledgement and thank you. Isn't it wonderful when we have the students come and entertain us? It's just so great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. You know, arts and education are so important, and that actually leads me to the next portion of our general session. I would like to invite Amanda Tobias, Reflections Specialist, to please come forward. Amanda will be presenting the PTA Reflections Awards, and she'll be talking about them along with recognitions.
All right. So, the PTA mission is to make every child's potential a reality. And we in PTA, we strongly believe that all children deserve the right to a quality arts education. And let's face it, we know that not all children have the potential to develop into a world-class artist. Most of us are testaments to that fact. But, however, all children benefit from the arts. They deserve and need the arts to develop to their fullest potential. Simply participating in the arts is key. Running a Reflections program in your PTA offers students the chance to participate in the arts. Over 45 years ago, the National PTA Reflections program began, designed to enhance a quality arts education for students in grades preschool through 12. It encourages them to create works of art for fun and recognition in 6 categories: dance, choreography, film production, music composition, literature, photography, and visual arts. This past year was the first year that we accepted 3D art pieces. And the challenge each year is that students create inspired art by a new and specific theme. So speaking of Reflections themes, every year the National PTA sponsors a theme search contest to determine the next Reflections theme. Students submit their theme ideas from across the country, and one is selected. This overall national winner receives a monetary award and recognition at the National PTA Convention in June. This past June, National PTA announced that the 2017-2018 Reflections theme is within reach. This theme will be the foundation for more than 300,000 students. National PTA is now seeking the 2018-19 theme, and that's so exciting. In New York State alone, we had 93 students submit their ideas for judging. And in keeping with Reflections judging recommendations, the Theme Search Committee used blind judging method to select the top 5 New York State PTA themes. And here they are. Together We Are a Masterpiece by CJ Sacasio from Baldwin Middle School in Nassau region. Remember Me Because I by Skylar Remy Holmes from Baldwin Middle School in Nassau region. Home is Where by Alexandra Skopicki Briarcliff from Westchester East Putnam. Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow by Samantha Kalingalu from Camp Avenue PTA, Nassau region. And lastly, We Are Stronger Together, Molly Doran, Weston Elementary PTA, Nassau region. So these 5 themes were sent to the National PTA for the theme search contest. Congratulations to each of these students, their families, PTAs, and regions. We wish them all the best of luck at the national level. This past year, 20,000 students throughout New York State PTA participated in the Reflections program, earning awards and recognition for their efforts and talent. At every level of Reflections, judges take on the difficult challenge of selecting winners to advance in the program. At the state level, the New York State PTA judges select 1 award of excellence and up to 4 awards of merit winners in each grade division for each arts category. The New York State PTA award-winning works of art for the 2015-2016 theme, Let Your Imagination Fly, along with a special tribute presentation on display in the convention's art gallery. Also, as you came into general session today, and you come in later today, we will be showing a compilation of the film and dance videos that went on to the National PTA competition. On behalf of those 134 students whose art's represented in the gallery, I thank you to everyone who helped set up the gallery this weekend. And as I look across this room, I see one large PTA family who recognize that Reflections programs offer students a unique opportunity. Would those of you who supported the Reflections program by offering your time or your talents to the PTA please stand? Your hard work and dedication to making every child's potential a reality allowed close to 20,000 students in New York State participate in Reflections. On behalf of these children at New York State PTA, I thank you. Author, scholar, and Harvard Business School educator John Cotter once said, "We learn best and change from hearing stories that strike a chord within us."
Thank you, Amanda. What a great job and what a great program. Stephanie Avedon, Pick a Reading Partner Specialist, will now join us to present the 2016 PARP Award.
Thank you. Good morning. As Bonnie said, I am here to present the New York State PTA PARP Award for 2016. A PARP program, now known as Pick a Reading Partner, has one purpose: reading. And there is only one rule. A partner, which can be a parent, grandparent, caregiver, older sibling, cousin, friend, child, must read together at least 15 minutes a day. It is that simple. A partner reads to the child reads to the adult. They read together, they read separately, but they read. Books and other reading materials should no longer just be an assignment for school. We should read for pleasure. They should ask questions to each other, discuss issues, form bonds, and make memories. Research indicates that children who read succeed. New York State PTA believes in the power of this program to help children flourish. We want to provide units and councils the tools necessary to run a successful PARP program. On the New York State PTA website, you will find the Pick a Reading Partner Toolkit. We believe that the materials in this toolkit will give you all the information you will need to run a successful PARP program and help our children succeed. Each year, New York State PTA invites schools and libraries across the state to apply for their region's PARP Award. The application is available on the New York State PTA website in January. We then encourage all 15 regions to send us their winning entries in search of the very best in the state. The New York State PARP Award Committee reads each application looking for the one unit which represents the best practices of PARP. We use a rubric and we look at the following items: fiscal use, enrollment, length of program, incorporation of diversity, student, parent, and community participation, data, and evaluation of the program. We also look at the supplemental materials of originality, the forms used, activities, and what we call the wow factor. The winning PTA unit this year hosted a 2-week program for grades 1 through 6 focused on the power of storytelling in music and how music supports reading and learning. To read all about their program, look for the information in the PARP Toolkit, Section 4. On behalf of New York State PTA, I would like to present the 2016 New York State PTA PARP Award to the Oceanside School No. 5 PTA from Nassau Region. Their theme is reading, rocking, and rapping. The entire state governance team wishes heartfelt congratulations to Oceanside School No. 5 PTA for a job well done. Accepting, hold on, one more paragraph. Accepting on behalf of Oceanside School No. 5 PTA are Mary DiGiovanna and Fran Perpero, PARP chairs. please come up to the podium to accept your award.
Let's give them another round of applause. Isn't this great?
Congratulations again. I would now like to acknowledge the region winners. Evans Park Elementary PTA from Central Hudson Region, swinging into reading. Perkins, I guess I didn't say hold applause. Perkins School, I got a note to self for next year. Perkins School PTA, Genesee Valley Region, every story has a hero. Huth Road Elementary, such a simple four-letter word, very complicated. Niagara Region, take the lead, get a book, and read. Cattaraugus, Little Valley PTA, Southwestern Region, let's take reading to new heights. We'll applause after each one, good. Timber Point PTA from Suffolk Region, Pirates and Mermaids, Princesses, shiver me timber points, it's PARP. Dodge Elementary PTA from Western Region, Dodge Craft. One big round of applause for all of them. Thank you to each unit that submitted a program, and congratulations again to Oceanside School Number 5 for receiving this year's New York State PTA PARP Award. Much time, energy, and effort goes into putting together a Pick a Reading Partner program. These programs all had such great reading activities and saw reading growth for everyone involved. It is truly exciting to see children and adults read and read together, and when doing so, wonderful adventures occur, new worlds are explored, and multiple opportunities arise. In closing, I would like to encourage all units to participate in the Pick a Reading Partner program. I challenge more units and councils to become involved and apply for the PARP Award. Remember, in this busy world we live in, nothing is more important than taking time to read with our children. The Pick a Reading Partner program encourages the love of reading and also promotes literacy in homes and schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I would now ask our parliamentarian, Carol Shalansky, to review the parliamentary procedures for us.
Good morning. I hope you all had a good night's sleep and are ready for the fun and games we're about to participate in. All right, today we're going to get to my favorite part of convention, debating and voting on issues that you care about. You will find some reference material on pages 20, 21, and 22 in regards to common motions and definitions. Okay, I am also going to remind you that you will find the microphone rules on page 23. Now, microphone 1, microphone 2, microphone 3. They will be lit up, green, red, and blue. Microphone 1 is used to speak in favor of a motion or to make an amendment. Microphone 2 is used to speak against a motion or to make an amendment. If you need to make an amendment, you can go to either microphone. Microphone 3 is reserved for privileged and incidental motions only. You ask a question at microphone 3, you debate at 1 and 2. In the convention rules you adopted, there are time limits. No delegate shall speak for more than 2 minutes. No motion may be debated for more than 10 minutes. No new resolution may be on the floor for more than 30 minutes. No update can be on the floor for more than 15 minutes. No retention shall be on the floor more than 10 minutes. Now, let's have a good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Sean Hannum, Treasurer, will now give an updated credentials report.
Madam President, I move the adoption of the Credentials Committee report as of 9:00 a.m. as presented, indicating a total of 213 voting delegates, 10 non-voting, 13 guests, 2 presenters, 38 exhibitors, for 276 total, representing 13 regions.
Thank you, Sean. This is a committee report and requires no second. Is there discussion? All those in favor of the updated credentials report signify by raising your voting cards high and saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The credentials report is adopted, showing a voting power of 213 voting delegates, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. The elections last evening created a vacancy in the position of Vice President. Will Helen Hoffman, Chair of the 2016 nominating committees, come forward and present the committee's report?
The nominating committee met last night and nominates Dana Playton for the position of Vice President for the term ending Convention 2017.
Dana Playton, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Thank you, Helen. In accordance with the bylaws, Article 8, Section 10I, the chair opens the floor to any additional nominations. Are there any nominations from the floor? The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3.
Yeah, Maria DeWald. I would like to nominate Lonnie Phillips for the position, please.
What do I ask? Lonnie, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, nominations are now closed. Just bear with me, it's been a while since we've had an election, so I'm just making sure I'm doing it right. Okay. Okay, so, page 15. Okay, got it. Thank you. In accordance with our bylaws, in the aforementioned section, do we have a second for the nomination? I see a second. Thank you very much. And thank you for your patience while we go through the process. In accordance with our bylaws in the aforementioned section, the election by the convention shall be by ballot from among the persons nominated by the nominating committee or from the floor. Elections will take place under the direction of Elections Committee Chair Lana Ajamian, in the back, she's waving to you, and her committee in the wedge room between the hours of noon and 2 p.m. You will need to show your voting card to vote. I was just looking for mine. Helen, can you just? Okay. So this becomes your voting card. So you need to make sure that you bring this with you. Okay? Thank you. Okay. And our parliamentarian has offered just to come on up and to explain the process. I am just going to add, though, there will also be a candidates forum from 12 to 12:15. So when we are done, please stay, and then we can go ahead and take care of that as well. And so I will ask that the candidates see me at the end of this general session. Before we go to the parliamentarian, I do have the light on at 3 and for a request for information. So the chair recognizes the delegate.
Lee Cohen from Niagara District. how do we find out the qualifications and background of each candidate?
During the candidates forum, that will be the opportunity to have that information shared with you. Okay? Thank you.
The process of voting by ballot will require you to trade in a part of your voting card for a ballot. This will occur in the wedge room. We will also need to provide you with the location of the wedge room, which unfortunately I do not have at my fingertips.
And I can help with that. The wedge room is actually those doors right there. You will go in from outside because when we vote, you have to go in one door and out another door. So you will go in from outside here. When you're done, you will actually exit from those doors, okay?
You will present your voting card intact. One of the members of the election committee will tear off a part of that card and hand you a ballot. Once you have your ballot, you will then have the opportunity to fill in that ballot with the candidate of your choice and deposit that ballot in an appropriate box. Once you have done that, you will exit and go on to lunch. Or,
Lunch.
Go to lunch. Okay, is there any questions with the process? So make sure you don't tear off the paper until you get in there and it is torn off, because that is the proof that you only get to vote one time. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We really appreciate it. And I'm just gonna, to reiterate again, the time will be from 12 to 2. It will be in the wedge room, which is over here. You will enter from outside of here. You will come through here. There will be a candidates forum from 12 to 12:15, at which time they will have an opportunity to share with you their background and any credentials. Lana will report to us on the results at the next session this afternoon. And Lana, do you want me to also just add for the elections committee to come see you as soon as the session is done? Thank you. We are now ready to begin or continue. We're going to begin our resolutions process. Please keep in mind the rules shared by our parliamentarian Carol Shalansky a few moments ago. Will the resolutions committee please go to their seats in the front, and the resolutions coordinator Dana Playton will join us at the podium, and we will begin the presentation of the resolutions. And I believe all the timekeepers are in their place. Okay. You good?
Hello, everyone. Since the first convention in 1897, New York State PTA has adopted hundreds of resolutions on a wide variety of issues. These resolutions inform our discussions, our policies, and our positions. New York State PTA reviews its resolutions on a 7-year cycle. For example, those up for review this year were last retained, updated, or adopted in 2009. Those that we vote to retain, update, or adopt this year are kept for another 7 years before the next review. Those that we do not retain or update are rescinded. Madam President, first, I will present those resolutions that we recommend to be retained. Next, we will vote on those resolutions we recommend be updated. In Robert's Rules of Order, updating is known as amending something previously adopted. Finally, those resolutions that the committee has not recommended be retained or updated will be presented for rescinding. Along with those, the delegates have voted not to retain or update. This year, we have 2 recommended by the Resolutions Committee to be rescinded, and new resolutions will be presented last, and this year we have 2 of those as well.
Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, I don't see anyone at number 3. The chair would like to call your attention to the microphones. Just to reiterate what Carol has already shared, we have 3 microphones. Microphone 1 will be used to speak for a motion or amendment or make any secondary motion. Microphone 2 will be used to speak against a motion or amendment or make any secondary motion. Microphone 3 will be used for privileged and incidental motions only. Any questions? Okay. On to the resolutions. Retentions require a majority vote for adoption, and they may not be amended. When we adopt retentions, we are affirming that these resolutions are important to maintain. We will continue the process started in 2009 with regard to retentions. We will be voting on them all together, or in parliamentary terms, by consent agenda or en bloc. Unless there is a request for any to be removed from the block to be voted on separately, which is the right of any voting delegate to request. Resolutions Coordinator Dana Platon will read each one just as she would if we were doing separate motions. After each is read, I will ask if any delegate wishes it to be removed from the block for separate discussion, questions, and vote. This request does not require a motion, a second, or a vote. A single request is all that is needed. We will go through all the retentions in the same fashion, noting any retention requested to be pulled for individual action. We will then process those on consent agenda first, then address those pulled one at a time. This process has worked smoothly for the past several years, and I'm confident it will run as smoothly this morning. Dana will only read the resolved clauses. The statements or rationale can be found in your program book. Dana?
Retention number 1, student participation. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated, units and secondary schools, PTA councils, and PTA regions be encouraged to have students on their boards, and be it further resolved that the New York State PTA urges school boards and administrators to establish channels for regular dialogue with secondary school students representing a cross-section of the students enrolled in the school district.
Would anyone like retention number 1, student participation, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 2, reform of state aid to education. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports and encourages legislation that would set a minimum level of state aid of at least 50% of the total educational costs for the state. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA supports and encourages legislation to create built-in minimum levels of funding for state-prescribed staffing ratios and other mandates.
Would anyone like retention number 2, reform of state aid to education, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Okay. Retention number 3, school nurses. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated encourages its units and councils to assess with the staff and school boards of their districts the risks of having inadequate health care for students, and be it further resolved that the New York State PTA urges the State Education Department to mandate a full-time registered nurse in every school building.
Would anyone like retention 3, school nurses, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 4, up-to-date and unbiased educational material. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports ongoing challenges to the decisions of cases that limit the content of school books, and further, be it resolved further, that the New York State PTA communicates with school textbook publishers to make them aware of the continuing need for textbooks that offer an overview of opinion and factual information. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA encourages school boards and school board associations to unite in their determination to purchase educational materials which contain up-to-date information and present facts in an unbiased manner. And be it further resolved that every New York State school district ensures that all instructional materials and textbooks to be used in schools are available in usable alternative formats for all students.
Would anyone like retention number 4, up-to-date and unbiased educational material, pulled for consideration or discussion?
Retention number 5, volunteerism. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports an amendment to the Internal Revenue Code to allow volunteers the same standard of deduction for their mileage rate as that used by business people in computing their expense deduction.
Would anyone like retention number 5, volunteerism, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 6, penalties for passing a stopped school bus. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated seeks stronger enforcement of the existing law that requires all vehicles to stop and not pass a stopped school bus when its red lights are flashing.
Would anyone like retention number 6, penalties for passing a stopped school bus, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 7, adult supervision. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated units and councils urge their local school boards to provide adequate adult supervision of children during lunch and recess, and that a minimum of 1 adult be assigned to each area where such activities are taking place.
Would anyone want retention number 7, adult supervision, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 8, sign language. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated units and councils encourage their school districts to offer sign language as a second language option.
Would anyone want retention number 8, sign language, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 9, special education. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers urges the State Education Department to change the regulations to read that all children with disabling conditions from age 11 and up are entitled to career and technical training for real work by using the New York State Education Department Career Development Occupational Study standards. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA urges the State Education Department to monitor school districts carefully to ensure continued compliance.
Would anyone want retention number 9, special education, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 10, hazing. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges that schools educate their students and that PTAs educate their members as to the possible dangers that may occur in hazing.
Would anyone want retention number 10, hazing, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Okay. Retention number 11, TV video viewing in schools. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated encourages the Board of Regents to adopt a regulation that would require every school district to have a policy for the use of movies, videos, DVD, Blu-ray, etc., television, and the internet in all classrooms, and be it further resolved that this policy be formulated with parental involvement.
Would anyone want retention number 11, TV video viewing in schools, pulled for discussion or separate consideration?
Retention number 12, horseback riding safety. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports stronger legislation to enact a riding safety code for operators of horseback riding facilities, which would include, but not be limited to, the use of protective helmets and safety instructions to reduce the chance of injury.
Would anyone want retention number 12, horseback riding safety, pulled for discussion or separate consideration? No retentions were requested to be pulled from the block.
Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of retentions 1 through 12.
If there is no objection, you have approved retentions 1 through 12. The motion is carried and retentions 1 through 12 have been adopted. We have to flip some pages.
Are we ready?
Yep, I think. Go.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 1, sale of tobacco to minors. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges local units to seek the cooperation of their local law enforcement agencies in enforcing the law banning the sale of tobacco and nicotine delivery products to minors and those local ordinances pertaining to it. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA urges its local units to communicate with their local governments, expressing their desire to see stringent penalties for offense of these laws and to seek local ordinances banning cigarette machines, demanding their removal after first offense, or at least regulating their locations within an establishment, making them less accessible.
The question is on the adoption of update number 1, sale of tobacco to minors. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of adopting update number 1, sale of tobacco to minors, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried and update number 1 has been adopted and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 2, point of sale, accessibility, and advertising of tobacco products. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges and supports legislation requiring that any establishment selling tobacco, electronic nicotine delivery systems, or any other nicotine-containing products may not engage in point-of-sale advertising of these products, except in adult-only settings, and be it further resolved that the New York State PTA urges and supports legislation that would prohibit any visible or audio advertising at the point of sale where underage persons might be exposed.
The question is on the adoption of update number 2, point of sale, accessibility, and advertising of tobacco products. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3 with a parliamentary question.
Thank you, Madam President. As the original writers of the National PTA, electronic cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery systems, ENDS, and youth, and because the acronym ENDS is ENDS, is the way these products are referred to in federal regulation and educational materials, we ask if we need to make a motion to have the acronym ENDS, ENDS, included in the updated language.
Or is it editorial? The parliamentarian has verified it's editorial, so please remind us of that so that when we make the changes, we can make sure that editorial change is made.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm making a note of it now.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 2, point of sale accessibility and advertising of tobacco products, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried and update number 2 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 3, parent participation. Resolved that the State Education Department advise and inform PTAs of the existence of all mandated school committees, and be it further resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges the SED and the state and local agencies and the school boards to use the PTA to serve on mandated school committees concerning children wherever appropriate. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA and its regions make available parent representatives to serve wherever appropriate. And be it further resolved that PTA units and councils make themselves available to their school districts to serve on school committees wherever appropriate.
Thank you. The question is on the adoption of update number 3, parent participation. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 3, parent participation, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried and update number 3 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 4, labeling of milk products. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges New York State legislators to mandate that all milk coming from cows fed, injected with, or that have been administered hormones be labeled.
The question is on the adoption of update number 4, labeling of milk products. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? Okay. I see that there is a light on over at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3. It's a point of reference? Is that point of order?
I hope that I picked the right choice. Veronica Goldberg, Nassau Region PTA. We asked that the clock on the screen be moved because we can't see the entire clock. The timekeepers, can it be moved to the left a little bit?
Okay.
Thank
CMI,
you.
do you have that?
Thank you.
Can you do it so that you guys can verify if it's okay?
That's not a clock timing resolution, that's an actual clock.
Yeah.
Timing meeting, so they can take that out.
Okay, are we all set? Great, thank you. So I will just ask one more time if there is any discussion on update number 4, labeling of milk products. All those in favor of adopting update number 4, labeling of milk products, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion has carried and update number 4 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 5, Regional Commission to Study Part 200 Regulations. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges the State Education Department regional offices to maintain ongoing two-way communication with parents from PTA and SEPTA and BOCES on a regular basis and share information through the state-funded parent centers. And be it further resolved that regional communication includes identification of any unmet needs within the region regarding the education of children with disabling conditions. And be it further resolved that regional reporting of data and evaluation of services provided to children with disabling conditions be shared with parents and educators.
The question is on the adoption of update number 5, Regional Commission to study Part 200 regulations. Adoption of the update. Okay, before I go any further, we have a request for information. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone number 3.
Amani DeGame, Central Hudson Region. I have a question regarding the third resolution. Is the intent reporting both data and evaluation, or is it reporting and evaluating? If you can clarify.
The third resolved?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you just repeat your question one more time?
So is the intent of the wording that you're reporting both data and evaluation, or you're doing reporting and evaluating?
Data and, she said.
Yeah,
So it's data and evaluation.
that's
Just because
right.
it might lead to an amendment, I will, depending on your answer.
Right, we discussed this last night about the grammar, but the way that we have updated it is what the intent is. So it's reporting of data and on the evaluation of services.
So you're reporting both the data and the evaluation?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to repeat where I was at. The question is on the adoption of update number 5, Regional Commission to study Part 200 regulations. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Request for information at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Yeah, Maria DeWald, Empire State PTSA. On the first resolve, Dana, could you just let us know what you mean by through the state-funded parent centers? What are they now? The perks are no longer there.
It's a state-funded, though.
I'm going to refer your question to Kathy Romano, who's a member of our Resolutions Committee. She's at microphone 1.
No, I'm answering a question.
Okay. The chair recognizes the delegate, Kathy Romano, at microphone 1.
Kathy Romano, New York State PTA Education Coordinator, along with Joyce Catani, New York State PTA Education Specialist. Special Education Specialist. Did I not say special education? That's because I think special education is part of regular education as well. These study councils are part of the PTIs, Maria, and they are funded still through the PTIs. It has nothing to do with PERC funding. Going back to Amani's previous question, these study councils had data about the number of students who were serviced in a particular service, as well as details of the service. Therefore, the evaluation that is referenced in this resolution has to do with services that are available regionally, not the individual student evaluations for special education. I'm hoping I answered 2 questions at once.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Microphone 2, the chair recognizes the delegate.
Okay, so I'm recommending an amendment. I don't know if it's up.
If I may, I'm just going to make one statement. I never got to, is there any discussion? And then we kind of went into it, so I'm just going to go on the record. So we're in discussion. So please.
Oh, just Amani DeGame, Central Hudson Region. I'm recommending just adding the S in evaluation in order for both to be clearly nouns and not assume reporting and evaluating the way it read originally before the change that is being proposed.
Okay.
So I recommend an S at the end of evaluation, so it reads reporting of data and evaluations of services.
Okay. The motion that I have in front of me reads, I move to change wording in update number 5 to read regional reporting of data and evaluations with an S of services. The maker is Amani
DeGame.
Thank you. From Central Hudson. Is there a second? And this is on the amendment. There is a second.
She didn't sign that.
What's that?
She didn't sign it.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of the, oh, okay. So there is further discussion?
I'm against.
Is this against the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Laura Palmieri, Suffolk Region. I'm against because it's unnecessary, because the way it's worded, it says evaluation of services. So grammatically, it is already plural, and this motion is not necessary.
Okay. Are there any others for or against the amendment? This is just on the amendment. Okay. Okay, so we will now vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards and say aye. Any opposed, please raise your voting cards and say no.
No.
I believe the noes have it, so the amendment has not gone forward. Thank you. So now we go back to the original, and what I will do is I will reread just the statement. The question is on the adoption of update number 5, Regional Commission to study Part 200 regulations. At this time, is there any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of adopting update number 5, Regional Commission to study Part 200 regulations, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried and update number 5 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution. Just a reminder that as you do your motion slips, we do need to make sure that you sign them. So, it's just one of those housekeeping pieces I just wanted to mention. So thank you.
Thank you. Motion, Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 6, the reauthorization of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Resolved that the reauthorization of Individuals with Disabilities Education Act be for a minimum of 6 years before it is necessary to reauthorize again, and be it further resolved that pursuant to the DSM-5 criteria, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder be specifically added to the list of official classifications in the IDEA, and be it further resolved that a parent member be included in the official committee membership in the IDEA, and that the IDEA provide only the parent/guardian with the option to waive the requirement that the parent member be in attendance at the meeting. And be it further resolved that a school psychologist be included in the official committee membership in the IDEA. And be it further resolved that the IDEA provide full funding. Full funding is defined as 40% of the national average of per pupil expenditure in the 1975, 1997, and 2004 legislation to the states and the school districts for programs and services, and that the full funding designated in the federal education budget each year. And be it further resolved that the U.S. Department of Education monitor the IDEA requirements for high school graduation, and that any student, regardless of receiving special education-related services, will be required to meet statewide assessments and credit requirements for graduation with a state-recognized diploma.
The question is on the adoption of update number 6, the reauthorization of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 6, the reauthorization of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion has carried and update number 6 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion, Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 7, mercury reduction in the environment. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports legislation to reduce mercury discharge into the environment and to regulate industry contributing to mercury pollution by emissions or in products. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA encourages its units and councils to inform and educate the public as to the hazards of mercury exposure and means of reducing mercury exposure, including the proper cleanup and disposal of mercury-containing bulbs. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA units and councils encourage their local school boards to eliminate or reduce the use of mercury in products in the schools.
The question is on the adoption of update number 7, mercury reduction in the environment. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 7, mercury reduction in the environment, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion has carried and update number 7 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 8, school bus stop vulnerability. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated encourages PTA units and councils to mount a campaign to raise awareness of student vulnerability at school bus stops. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA continues to educate parents and students in school bus safety and make parents aware that they are responsible for monitoring and protecting their children until the school bus arrives at the stop and the red lights begin to flash.
The question is on the adoption of update number 8, school bus stop vulnerability. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 8, school bus stop vulnerability, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion has carried and update number 8 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of update number 9, detoxification of minors. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges that public and private licensed detoxification services and substance use disorder treatment facilities for minors be made available within close proximity to an adolescent's area of residency or at or above the level of access as available to adults. And be it further resolved that New York State PTA seeks and supports legislation that gives parents and guardians rightful authority over a minor to obtain mental and medical assessment of such minor in order to determine whether he or she requires involuntary detoxification and stabilization. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA seeks and supports legislation that would give substance use disorder treatment decision-making authority to substance use disorder treatment professionals and remove authority from insurance companies. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA supports funding for recovery from substance use disorders, such as the Federal Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, National Youth Recovery Initiative, be implemented throughout the state. And be it further resolved that the New York State PTA will urge its units, councils, and regions to advocate for the education of parents and guardians and community members about the dangers of substance use disorder and the treatment options available for minors.
The question is on the adoption of update number 9, detoxification of minors. Adoption of the update will amend the resolution adopted 7 years ago. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of adopting update number 9, detoxification of minors, signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried, and update number 9 has been adopted, and you have amended the previously adopted resolution. Where are we? Okay. And now, Dana, we have finished with the updates. And now Dana will present the resolutions recommended to be rescinded. Generally, resolutions are presented for rescission because we have been successful in the passage of legislation addressing the issue, or current research shows the intent of the resolution is no longer necessary or valid.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move that the resolution ban on DEET with concentration over 30% be rescinded. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges the legislature to ban the use of DEET with concentrations over 30%.
The question is on rescinding ban on DEET with concentration over 30%. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of rescinding ban on DEET with concentration over 30% signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion is carried, and ban on DEET with concentration over 30% has been rescinded.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move that the resolution emancipation of minors be rescinded. Resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated seeks and supports the passage of legislation that would establish conformity among child protection statutes, give parents rightful authority over their 16 and 17-year-old children, and define the age of emancipation in a manner that would protect the rights of young people and their parents. And be it further resolved that said legislation should provide that a parent's financial obligation to support his or her child under the age of 21 shall cease when it is demonstrated that the child is financially independent, or that the child, against the will of the parents, voluntarily and without good cause, has absented himself or herself from the custody and control of the parent or other lawful authority.
The question is on rescinding emancipation of minors. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of rescinding emancipation of minors signify by raising your voting cards and saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Voting cards down. All those opposed, please signify by raising your voting cards high and saying no. Thank you. The motion has carried, and emancipation of minors has been rescinded. And on to the new resolutions, correct?
Yes. Well, this is the fun part.
I keep waiting for her to talk, and she was funny. It says chair. We have 2 new resolutions to consider. The whereas statements are informational and not subject to revision by the delegate body. They will not be part of the final adopted resolution. Any part of the resolved statements can be amended by the delegate body. New resolutions require a majority vote for adoption. The new resolution number 1 is genetically modified organisms and genetically engineered foods.
Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of new resolution number 1, genetically modified organisms and genetically engineered foods. Whereas genetically modified organisms are organisms whose genetic material has been artificially manipulated in the laboratory through genetic engineering. This biotechnology science creates unstable combinations of plant, animal, bacteria, and viral genes that do not occur in nature or through traditional crossbreeding methods to obtain a desired trait or characteristic. And whereas some laboratory research is demonstrating a link between pesticide-dependent GMOs and GE foods to negative health consequences, and whereas more transparent and conclusive studies need to be conducted before GMOs are assumed to be safe for human and animal consumption, and whereas the precedent has been established by both the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act 2010 and Smart Snacks in School Guideline, which establish science-based nutrition standards that includes the banning of unhealthy foods in schools. And whereas there is a growing number of major food companies voluntarily labeling their food products containing GMOs, and whereas there is an increase in worldwide mandatory GMO labeling and the banning of GE food products, now therefore it be resolved that New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated supports legislation and regulations that require mandatory labeling of GMO and GE foods. And be it further resolved that New York State PTA supports legislation and regulations that ban GMOs and GE foods from use in food and beverages provided by school meal programs and vending services. And be it further resolved that until such ban is in effect, all school districts be encouraged to prohibit the use of foods and beverages that contain GMOs and GE foods provided by the school meal programs and vending services. And be it further resolved that New York State PTA encourages units and councils to educate parents and community members on the health and environmental effects of GMOs and GE food products.
Does the maker of the resolution wish to speak in support? You will have 2 minutes to speak. The chair recognizes the delegate at the 4 microphone.
Lori May, Nassau Region PTA. On behalf of Nassau Region PTA, I move to amend by substituting in totality resolves 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the following. Resolved that New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers, Inc. support legislation and regulations that require mandatory labeling with clear and conspicuous words of GMO and GE foods, and be it further resolved that New York State PTA supports legislation and regulations that restrict pesticide-tolerant GMOs and GE foods from use in food and beverages provided by school meal programs and vending machines, and be it further resolved that until such legislation and regulations are in effect, all schools be encouraged to avoid the use of foods and beverages that contain pesticide-tolerant GMOs and GE foods in their school meal programs and vending services, and be it further resolved that the New York State PTA encourages units and councils to educate parents and community members on the health and environmental effects of pesticide-tolerant GMOs and GE food products.
Is there a second to the amended in totality? I see there is a second. Okay. So I'm going to read this. Well, do I need to read it, or we're good? Just verifying if I need to read it. Is there any discussion on the amendment that is being forwarded on the totality? Which is displayed on the screens. If there is no discussion on the, or is there? Okay. Then, well, I think this gentleman, so sir, you want to talk about the amendment? Okay. The chair recognizes the delegate. And just to clarify, this is about the amendment, correct? Not about the original resolution.
Correct. The wording in green?
Okay.
That's what I'm speaking to.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Tim Rubino. I'm president of Pine Bush Elementary PTA with the Central Hudson region. I do disagree with the wording changes. I think you had it right the first time, okay, with the original wording that used ban, okay? The reason why is the proposed wording, I think, is too vague. I think the very essence of this resolution is about food. When I think about food, I think about consumption. which is measurable and quantifiable. And I think this language lessens that initiative, okay? I don't think it provides a basis for it to be quantifiable. And I don't want to end up with a resolution that's ultimately unenforceable because of that reason. I don't want GMOs in my food. I don't want my food grown in a lab by any means. If you want to genetically modify something, modify the chemicals you're using on the food. Don't modify the food, right? That's like the tail wagging the dog. And I don't want to go back to my 650 families back at PBE and tell them that I fought for a better solution. I want to go back and tell them that I fought for the best solution. Okay, so that's why I don't feel that that's some good language in there. So I'll say this, that I'm totally ignorant on the science behind all this. I don't purport to know all the facts and figures. But I also don't need my degree in marine biology and jump off the coast of Antarctica to know that the water's cold, okay? So here's a scenario. If someone who was a smoker walked up to you and said, you know, I know this is really bad for me, you know, what should I do? You wouldn't turn to them and say, you know, you should cut down on your smoking, right? You would tell them to quit.
Thank you. We have a light on for a parliamentary question at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3.
Thank you, Madam President. Sarah Henris, Nassau Region PTA. A motion was made to amend the resolution, and I'd like to know if that maker of the amendment is allowed to speak to it, the amendment.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will go, yeah. So we will go back to, again, we're still on the amendment. So is there any further discussion on the amendment? The chair, I would say having the green light on means that. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 1.
Bonnie, thank you,
you,
Madam President. We are amending this resolution to provide clarity and strength to our resolves. The intent of this resolution is to raise awareness for the need of long-term, unsolicited research and the need for labeling that states clearly when a food product contains GMOs so that individual choices are respected. We admittedly are not scientific researchers or biotechnology engineers. We are simply child advocates calling into question the safety of GMO food sources that to date have little or no long-term independent studies on the effect they may have on humans. Our research on this issue has led us to more questions than answers. The FDA, USDA, and EPA, the regulatory government agencies overseeing that our food sources are safe for consumption by humans and feed animals, rely on the voluntary submission of safety, research, and health studies financed or conducted by the manufacturers of GMOs and the pesticides drenched on them during farming. Federal law does not require independent testing of the safety of food products produced with GMOs. Independent scientists are limited from conducting research and health studies due to industry and patent restrictions on the use for research of genetically engineered material used in food products. Help us plant the seed. We are seeking your report to continue asking the question, are these products safe? If so, say so with clear labeling in a printed manner that can be read by all. As an organization whose principles include the promotion of the health and welfare of children and youth, this resolution would help safeguard that our children are fed foods in schools that are reliably proven safe for consumption. We need to continue to educate ourselves and protect our children. Until we have unbiased research and labeling, please do not leave our children without options.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? And again, this is on the amendment to substitute in totality. Are you ready to vote on the amendment? All those in favor, please raise...
Microphone 1.
Oh, I apologize. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 1.
Thank you, Madam President. Sarah Henris, Nassau Region PTA Legislation Resolutions Chair. The language, clear and conspicuous words, or printed words, in labeling of GMOs supports many concerns and provides information to consumers to make personal decisions regarding public health and food safety, consumer confusion and deception, environmental harms or impacts, economic development, and religious or cultural practice choices. The current labeling laws, newly enacted after the writing of this resolution, does not require wording printed on products in a clear and conspicuous manner. Rather, the labeling will be done through a QR code requiring the consumer to have advanced technology and very specific programming to read the electronically embedded label language. I strongly support the insertion of the language with clear and conspicuous words. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Okay. The amendment that we will then vote on behalf of Nassau Region PTA to amend by substituting in totality resolves 1, 2, 3, and 4 with what was presented. All those in favor, please raise your voting cards and say aye. Oh, I apologize. I apologize.
Hi.
The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3. I'm not sure if it's a point of information. I'm sorry, I didn't see the card go up.
It's a point of information.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember anyone's name, but when the gentleman said he is against the amendments in the words, can it be just one word, like changing restrict back to ban and then accept everything else?
That would be an amendment of amendment. There can always be a secondary amendment of the amendment.
Okay, so if we vote to pass this,
Then we would not. Yes, I apologize, yes. If we vote to pass this, we still have to then go back to this as the original, so you could then put an amendment on that.
Okay,
Correct?
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'm really going to look at all 3 microphones. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat the motion. So we are going to vote on the amendment on behalf of Nassau Region PTA to amend by substituting in totality resolves 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the following. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting card and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please raise your voting card and say no. Thank you. Voting cards down. We will now go back to discuss the motion as amended in totality, correct? So is there any further discussion? We still have time, I believe, of the 30 minutes on the motion. How much do we have left? We have 20 minutes left. So the motion now is amended. Are there any additional amendments? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. If you're seeking to make an amendment, you can go to the closest microphone. Okay. Proceed with the vote. Discussion. Is there any further discussion? Okay, the chair will allow a minute for clarification. Are we paying attention to a minute? Yeah. Yes, I do. Thank you. Are we keeping track of a minute? I said a minute. You guys keeping track of the minute? Okay, thank you. Are we having fun yet? Seriously, isn't this fun? It really is. It's great to see the process. This is what we're about.
That's for sure.
So I'm looking at the timers because we did say that we would give a minute for clarification. Okay, we have a request for information. Okay. Okay. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3 and the request for information.
Hi, Anne Marie Thompson, Allegheny Avenue Elementary School, Suffolk Region. I just want clarification, I guess. We voted on taking that in totality, but I'm wondering what the thought process was behind removing the words prohibit and ban and replacing them with restrict and avoid. If somebody could answer why they wanted to change those two words in there.
My parliamentarian is sharing that that's somewhat close to debate as opposed to request. Let's see if maybe the makers could give a very quick answer.
That'd be great, thank you.
Veronica Goldberg, Nassau Region PTA. There's not that much of a difference. Ban would be ban versus restrict. The definition of ban is to forbid people from using, to forbid, to prohibit the use, to bar, legal or formal prohibition, censure, or condemnation. Restrict is to limit the amount or range to prevent someone from doing something, to allow someone or something only to have a particular thing. Legal definition in the legal sense of the word, to subject to bounds or limits, to place under restrictions as to use or distribution. Was there another part that they would need a clarification?
I think that, I don't see the individual there, but I believe that answered the question. Okay, thank you. We have another light on at 3, so the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3, request for information.
Thank you, Madam President. Lori Zaman, Outreach Coordinator, New York State PTA. I have a question. In the original, it said under Resolve 2, vending services in our printed material, and it now says vending machines, but machines was not in green, and in Resolve 3, it says vending services. Are those words interchangeable, or was that just?
Can one of the makers please speak to this?
We didn't recommend a change in that language. I'm not sure how it came there. I'm sorry. It should say as printed. We did not, as printed in the program is how we intended it to be presented to you. I'm not sure where that change in vending services, vending machines came from.
At this time, because we already approved the amendment, you know, other than getting a clarification on that, we are working from the amended version. So if we need to look at that word now, if we're questioning that there was a change, that would be an amendment. Does that make sense, Lori?
So when she spoke, she said machines, and that was what was written in green, but in the printed material, it said services. So I'm not sure what's on the amendment.
Okay, so on the amendment, what you are seeing on the screen is what we just approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have another request for information, and please ask us the questions. Chances are somebody else has the same question. The chair recognizes delegate.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Million. I'm with the Hewitt School in Nassau County. And my question is regarding the pesticide-tolerant GMOs. There are also other GMOs, so are we only going to speak to the pesticide-tolerant ones, or are we going to cover all of them?
We speak to what is written on here, so if that is what is written on there, that is what we would speak to.
So that then brings my concern, I think, that the gentleman was also referring to, because
so
if you're only going to... Okay.
So at this point, that would be debate. So if you do want to request amendment, then at that point, yes. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much. I believe number 2 was next. The chair acknowledges and recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Hello, my name is Christine Hannum with the Wilson Middle School High School PTSA, representing Niagara Region. I move that we refer this resolution back to committee, as the resolution does not address alternate food sources for school food programs. To speak to this motion,
Should I ask for a second first? Is there a second for the motion? Oh, yes. Go ahead.
To speak to this, I apologize. I know the intent of this resolution is great. However, I believe the statistic is 85% of corn in the United States is genetically modified. Canola oil, soybeans are one of the largest items that are genetically modified. What will we feed our children if we restrict or ban these products without creating an alternate food source or addressing where that alternate food will come from? Again, I'm not saying feed everyone GMOs. I'm saying I feel that it's appropriate to make sure that we are addressing where the food will come from if.
So you're supporting why you are making the motion
Correct.
to send it back to committee? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any discussion on the amendment on the floor to send this back to committee? Motion to commit. I'm seeing running, so I'm not sure where I'm going here. Oh, because you're against sending it back to committee. Okay.
But she just asked if there's a against.
Okay, so right now our discussion is on the motion to send back to committee. Okay, so the chair recognizes the delegate who wants to speak against the motion on the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Sarah Henris, Nassau Region PTA. I'm speaking against this move to committee because there is and has been demonstrated a precedent by school districts to use their purchasing power to require of suppliers with very minimal cost effect to them to provide foods that meet their standards. In 2014, the Alliance, which is the urban school districts across our nation, New York City, LA, Miami-Dade, Dallas, Chicago, and Orlando. Band together, they serve 2.9 million children every day. They have a purchasing power of $500 million annually in food, and they wrote a resolution requiring their suppliers to provide them with antibiotic-free chicken. Their suppliers have now been working with their vendors to make that provision available. When economy demands, it happens. And I believe that this can take effect. We don't expect it to be immediate, but we believe it can happen, and we can make that decision today based on that. It does not need to go back to committee.
Thank you. We have a parliamentary question. The chair recognizes delegate at microphone 3.
Thank you, Madam President. Sarah Morgan Ruth, Western Region, Winchester Elementary. My question is, if we send this back to committee, can we revisit it at this convention, or do we have to wait a whole year to vote on this?
It would be the next convention.
Thank you.
That is a very good question. Thank you. I believe, okay, the light is on number. Okay. We have a motion to commit. The motion that's on the floor. Is there any further debate on the motion to send back to committee? All in favor of sending the motion back? Okay, so this is about the amendment. So you're going to speak for sending it back to committee? Okay, so then we will wait on that. Thank you. So we will go ahead. All those in favor of the motion on the floor to send back to committee, please raise, and actually I'm going to read the official motion slip. I move that we refer the resolution back to committee as the resolution does not address alternate food sources for school food programs. The maker was Christine Hannum, and it was seconded. All those in favor of this motion, please raise your voting cards and say aye. Aye. All those opposed to this motion, raise your card and say no.
No.
Okay, the motion has been defeated. Thank you. We are now back to, yep. We are now back to the overall amended motion. And so the chair recognizes, I believe the person was at number 2 before number 1? Oh, okay. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Hi, my name is Daniela Alefteri. Daniela.
Just one moment, just one moment. They would like a time check, if we could. 12 minutes on the overall. So we have 12 minutes on the overall resolution. Thank you for waiting.
No. My name is Daniela Lefteriadis. I'm with Howitt Middle School in the Nassau region.
Can everyone hear her? It's okay. You can
I'm
just come
taller
forward.
than the last person. My name is Daniela Lefteriadis. I'm with Howitt Middle School in Nassau region. I move to amend Resolve Number 2 by striking the word restrict in the line 314 and substituting the word ban.
What it says here is, I move to amend Resolve Number 2
by striking the
by
word
striking the
restrict.
word restrict in line 314 and inserting the word ban.
Inserting, okay.
Okay. Is there a second on the amendment? I see a second. So is there any discussion on the amendment that was just put on the floor? Are you ready to vote on it? All those in favor, and again, this is the amendment. Somebody's raising their hand, I'm not sure. So this is on the motion, and you would like to speak against the motion. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Katie Corey. I'm from the Charlton Heights PTA in the Northeast region. I am against changing what we have elected as restrict and ban. As I see it, there is a distinct difference between ban and restrict. Banning means we cannot use these foods at all. Restrict would mean we have to try alternative sources and alternative foods. By banning them, or by restricting them, we need to exhaust every effort to provide a different resource for food. I believe by banning, we are reaching far into district decisions and resources by doing this and overstepping our boundary.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? This is on the amendment on the floor. I believe we have a delegate at I don't see the light on.
4. Okay. I'm just speaking for.
So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 1 to speak for the amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Tim Rubino, Pine Bush Elementary, PTA, Central Hudson Region. This is getting back to my original point where I like the word ban. I think from an advocacy perspective, when you use softer language that uses words like restrict or avoid, it sends everybody else, we all leave this room and we say, okay, we passed, a softer resolution, and it doesn't generate the advocacy and the conversation that I think should be driven by this resolution. We all walk out of here saying we use the word ban. I mean, that makes a statement. That's gonna get people talking. It's doing it now. It's gonna get people moving. And I think that's the spirit of this resolution. I don't think all the kinks are worked out. I see the issues that are being raised, and they're good ones. But I think you got to start somewhere. I think this is the right way to start, and I think you need to promote a concept of zero tolerance for this stuff. And the only word that works in that instance is the word ban.
Thank you. We are still, is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, so the motion to amend, we are going to recognize the delegate at microphone 2.
Hi, my name is Tara Coleman. I'm from Salzman East Memorial PTA, Nassau region. It's very confusing. I think that's the problem I'm having with all the changes in the wording. So in the first sentence, we're saying, in the first resolve, we're saying mandatory labeling. In the second sentence, we're saying ban. So I guess I'm a little confused about what the ultimate goal is. So do you want the labeling or do you want the banning?
This amendment that we're talking about, she's only talking about Resolve 2 on this particular amendment. Just to clarify that piece.
Okay.
You know, because you said you weren't
I
sure
think
which, but this particular amendment only is about Resolve 2, and the amendment would be to strict the word restricted and Resolve 2 and insert ban. So
Okay.
that's...
All right, thank you for
Does
clarifying.
that explain?
It does. It does.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion on the amendment? Is this for or against the amendment? Okay. I'm just doing a time check on overall amendment. 7 minutes on the overall amendment, and how much on the amendment? 7 minutes on the whole resolution. Okay, thank you. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Janine Eichenholtz from the Furnace Woods School in the Westchester East Putnam region. GMOs is a very gray area. There's a lot of science on both sides of the issue. Ban is a much more black and white word. I think that we have a better chance of passing the resolution if we use a more inclusive word like restrict. And the ultimate goal here is to get the message out from the PTA that we question the use of these items in our schools. And it's more important that we get that message out, even if it's just restrict versus ban, than we completely defeat it because the word is too restrictive.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Okay. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2. This is about the amendment, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lucille Vitale, New York State PTA Wellness Coordinator. I'm speaking against changing the word restrict back to ban. In the original intent, we found that ban was too restrictive, not just to pass on the floor, but to actually institute in the school districts. We're looking for school districts to get on board with this and for there to be regulations. With restrict, there's a little bit more leeway. Yes, ban is a wonderful thing, and we would love it to be banned, honestly. But when you're looking at how it can be instituted into the school districts, restrict will make it easier, and we feel we would have more leeway with that word as opposed to just saying we're going to all-out ban it, because then the alternative is that we have to come up with something very quickly to replace that. With restrict, you have a little bit more leeway, and that was the original intent of that.
Thank you. We have a light on for request for information. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3.
I'm Sue Landini from Nassau Region. Do we have a time check on this motion?
Yes. Right now, on the motion itself, not the overall.
No, the motion itself.
We don't.
Is there a time frame of only 5 minutes for a motion?
It's 5 minutes for the overall motion.
I think we're over that because we started at 12 and now we're down to 7.
Our timekeepers have been. Okay, it's 10 overall. We're down to 5 left, and I believe we have less than a minute on the amendment.
Thank you.
So, yes, the amendment. So, at this time, can we take a vote on the amendment? Okay. All of those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards and say aye. Well, I started. Okay. So I should stop. Okay. There's a statement of concern at microphone 3. So the clock stops. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 3.
Veronica Goldberg, Nassau Region PTA. I move to extend time for debate on this resolution by 10 minutes.
I've been informed by the parliamentarian that's not an interrupting motion, that you would need to go to one of the 2 microphones.
I was instructed by...
We're in the middle of a vote. So we had already started the vote on the amendment. So my parliamentarian is saying that we wouldn't be able to accept another motion because we already started the process. Okay. So again, if you could signify by raising your voting cards if you are in favor with an aye. So if you are in favor of the amendment, please. Okay. We could have everyone's attention. I'm going to just reread the amendment, and then we're going to continue the vote we had started. I move to amend resolve number 2 by striking the word restricted in line 314 and inserting the word ban. This was seconded, and we had started the vote. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards and say aye. All of those opposed to the amendment, please raise your voting card and say no.
No.
Voting cards down. The amendment has been defeated. Now, going back to the original motion, how much time do we have left? I can't hear you. 3 minutes left on the original resolution. We have a motion at, the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Veronica Goldberg, Nassau Region PTA. I move to extend time for debate on this resolution by 10 minutes.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Do I have the motion slip for that? Okay. So all those in favor, we need a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of extending the time, please raise your voting cards and say aye. All those opposed to extending the time, please raise your voting cards and say no. So we have extended the time by 10 minutes? 10 minutes. So timekeepers, please take note. If we could, we'll go ahead and we will proceed. There is a 4, and again, we're back to the overall motion as it was amended earlier. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 1.
Yes, Patrice Racklin, Baldwin Senior High School, Nassau Region. I move to amend by striking machines, the word machines, and insert the word services as originally proposed.
There you go. Is there a second? Okay. Is there discussion on the motion? Do you wish to speak to it?
Yes, I would love to. Coincidentally, I'm also one of the makers of the resolution, and the original wording was services, and somehow in getting this together, we made a mistake, and machines was written instead, so we do apologize.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the amendment that is on the floor? I don't have the slip for it to restate it. Can I ask her to restate it? I just want to make sure. Okay. The motion is to strike machines and change and insert the word services. Okay. If there is no further discussion on this amendment, all those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please raise your voting card and say no. The amendment to the motion has carried. So now we are back to the original amendment as it was. Thank you. The original motion as amended earlier today. I got it. Okay. I believe number 2 has been waiting, so the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
CJ Thompson, New York State Male Engagement Specialist. I move to amend the motion to cover all GMOs, not just pesticide tolerant. My rationale for that is that GMOs have a wide effect on a bunch of different parts of the body and there's a bunch of different GMOs rather than just pesticide tolerant. And each one has a separate effect on the individual. And to just cover one type of GMO or how it's taken care of is ignorant on our part, and we should try and cover all of them.
The parliamentarian is sharing with me that we need this to be more specific. It needs to indicate where you would want these to happen, like where you would want to cross
I'd
something
like to
out, insert something.
Okay. Do I have to write a new motion?
We just need it to be more specific. It will also help the individuals to show everyone exactly where you want those changes. Thank you. I'm just listening to advice from parliamentarian. Okay. 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 The chair, thank you. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 1, speaking for.
Christine Hannum, Wilson Middle School, High School, PTSA, Niagara Region. I move that we remove resolves 2 and 3 from the amended resolution.
Is there a second? Okay, I heard a second. Would you like to speak to your
Yes, I would like to speak to this
your proposed
removal. I would like to keep resolve 4, if we could not strike through the last resolve.
So it's just 2 and 3?
Just 2 and 3.
So CMI, if you could put back the last resolve?
Keep 1, keep 4.
Thank you.
My reasoning for this is that I believe in order to make this more amenable to the overall voting delegates, that we need to be able to keep this, I want to keep us from overreaching. If you look at update 4 that we just passed regarding labeling of milk products, we are only urging legislators to mandate that all milk coming from cows fed, injected with, or that have been administered hormones be labeled. This has been a successful resolution that has been standing since 1994. I believe that in order to address any current, future scientific research that hasn't even come about yet, in order to make this a resolution that would stick for 7 years, if we keep it as that we require mandatory labeling with clear and conspicuous words of GMO and GE foods, and be it further resolved that New York State PTA encourages units and councils to educate parents and community members on the health and environmental effects of pesticide-tolerant GMOs and GE food, remove the comma, products, I believe that that would be a stronger, while it's not an outright ban, I feel that it would be more likely to be a passable resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment that we remove resolves 2 and 3 from the amended resolution? We have a request for information at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Hi, Daniela Lefteriadis, Howard Middle School, Nassau Region. My understanding when I read this was we were being specifically labeling pesticide-tolerant GMOs and being general with genetically engineered foods.
So your question, what is your question, ma'am?
So my question is, are we only saying pesticide-tolerant GMOs and pesticide-tolerant genetically engineered foods?
We are
or is
saying
it-
what is actually stated on here.
Okay, so then my question is, what's the intent of that statement?
Okay, so I would ask the maker. Now, I believe this, does this have to do with the amendment to remove?
It has to do with the gentleman saying take out pesticide.
Okay. At this point in time, right now, we're on the amendment. So I would like to finish the amendment and.
It was the one before, though.
That didn't go through.
It was the one before
We didn't?
this.
Okay.
that's
So I
Oh, that was
believe you're
pulled?
referring to the gentleman that came up that we asked to go back.
I'm sorry.
No, this is fine. I just want to make sure I'm getting the correct answer for
So
you.
my question will stand after he says his
Yeah.
thing. Do I have to come back?
Yes,
up?
because he's coming
I have to come
back with his.
Okay, thank you.
But please do bring that back forward. Thank you. So right now, I'm just going to bring us back to the amendment. And the amendment to remove resolves 2 and 3 from the amended resolution. We have another request for information at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Good morning. I'm Holly Gregg. I'm with School 16 PTA in the Northeastern region. My question is, if we strike out these two sections, at what juncture could we go back and re-amend this at a later date? Do we have to wait the 7 years, or would we do it at the next convention if applicable?
Until the motion as a whole is passed or defeated, we can continue to put amendments forward.
But later on going forward, could we ever go back and visit this?
At a future convention, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2 that wants to speak against the amendment.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Sarah Henris, Nassau Region PTA Legislation Resolutions Chair. I'm speaking against this motion to remove Resolves 2 and 3 because, as an organization, an association, whose principles include the promotion of health and welfare of children and youth, this resolution would safeguard that our children are fed foods in schools that are reliably proven safe for consumption. Currently, there is a lack of consensus on the health and safety risks of GMO and GE foods. A statement by the European Network of Scientists for Social and Environmental Responsibility noted a broad diversity of opinion among scientists. Research is demonstrating that there is a link to negative health effects on pesticide-resistant GMOs and on genetically engineered foods.
Thank you. So we are still on the amendment, and I believe there's how much time on the amendment? On the amendment? No, not on the overall, just on this amendment. So we have overall on the whole 5 minutes. So the chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2 who's going to speak against the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Suzanne Smoller, New York State PTA Legislation Coordinator. I am against removing these two resolves because New York State PTA is an advocacy organization. When we pass these resolutions, it gives our entire membership body an opportunity to advocate on all of this. If these two pieces do not get passed, we do not have an opportunity to advocate for legislations and regulations regarding GMOs in school food at all, nor do we have at all, because this is both related to school meals. That limits us in only dealing with labeling, clear and conspicuous labeling and education. There is no ability for us to advocate as an association for legislation and regulations. We're not here to write it, but we need to be working with our legislators and our regulators to deal with this issue. We can't keep restricting us this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the amendment on the floor? Okay. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2.
Hi, Daniela Leftariadis, Howard Middle School, Nassau Region. I second what she just said, and I also want to point out that I have been writing everybody I can write for years regarding labeling and being able to feed my family without having to put genetically modified foods in their body. And the power that we have as consumers with a group this size is really what will affect change. And to take that away, really, it hurts my kids, it hurts everybody's kids that cares about what they're putting into their bodies, and I really hope we do not take those parts out.
Thank you. We have a request for information, and sorry, I was waiting for the sign, at microphone 3, so please stop the clock, and the chair recognizes the delegate.
Yeah, Patrice Racklin, Baldwin Senior High School, Nassau Region. I would like to call the question.
I'm being told that's not a request for information. But if you come over to, but we will accept it if you just come right over here to microphone 2. Now, when you call the question, you're calling the question on the amendment? Right.
Amendment.
So the chair recognizes the delegate.
Yes,
So it's on the amendment that you're
Yes.
calling the question?
Patrice
Okay.
Racklin, Bolton Senior
Okay,
High
is-
School, Nassau Region. I would like to call the question on the amendment.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of calling the question on, it will take 2/3. All those in favor of calling the question on the amendment, please raise your voting cards and say aye.
Aye.
Any of you opposed, please raise your voting cards and say no. The question has been called. We will now vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards high and say aye. Okay, I'm going to reread the amendment. I move that we remove resolves 2 and 3 from the amended resolution. All those in favor, please raise your voting card high and say aye. All those opposed to the amendment, please raise your voting card high and say no.
No.
The motion has been defeated. Thank you. So now we are back, and we have 2 minutes left on the overall motion as amended. So we have a parliamentary question at microphone 3. So the chair recognizes the delegate.
Hi, good morning. My name is Brianne Talani. I'm representing Northside Elementary on Nassau Region.
Could you state that again?
Sure. Brianne Talani, Northside Elementary, Nassau Region.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask a quick question, kind of what was mentioned before. Clearly, we're running out of time, and we would all like to get this through in some form and fashion. So my parliamentary question is, if we pass this through in this form, and we want to have an update to modify it, change certain words, can the members request the resolution committee to update and present it at the next convention, or do we have to wait 7 years?
No, they have to wait 7 years.
If you feel that in the interim time, as this convention closes, before the onset of the next convention, or 2 or 3 or 4 years from now, if you feel that this resolution does not address the current state of the science or any other material background to this resolution, you can write a new resolution and you can request the rescission of this resolution at any time. You would have 2 motions. You would have a motion to rescind this resolution, assuming the resolution passes. And then you would make a new resolution, essentially with whatever new information that would then be debated in the same manner as you see here. And
that could be done next year?
Correct.
Okay. And we would,
at a future time.
At a future time.
Undetermined.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Carol. I'm going to ask for a time check on the overall. 1 minute and 50 seconds. Okay, we do have, which came first? This? I think he did. So, okay, so which am I doing? Okay, so, is this CJ? I can't read it. Oh, okay. Okay, so the chair recognizes, I'm sorry? No, we called the question on the amendment. Now we are back to the original motion as amended. Okay? I have a motion slip in front of me. Okay, so I recognize the delegate at microphone 2 to talk against the overall motion as amended. We have a motion to call the question. Who brought forward that motion? Okay. So is that one? Thank you. Okay. So would you like to go forward?
Heather
Well,
Leonard
she
Creed.
needs to state it, doesn't she? So please, if you could state your motion, who you are in your motion.
Yep.
Thank you.
My name is Heather Linnecree. I am treasurer with the South Colony SEPTA chapter in the Northeast region, and I move to call to question the resolution as written and currently amended.
Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor, this will mean a 2/3. All those in favor of calling the question, the resolution as written and amended, please raise your voting cards high and say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your voting cards high and say no. The motion has carried. We will now vote on the overall resolution as amended. No further amendments will be made. So, are we ready? Why are some of you, I'm not seeing anyone at 3. I'm not seeing any light on. So, not seeing any lights on, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have the vote go forward. We good?
Good.
Okay. All those in favor of the resolution as amended, please raise your voting cards high and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please raise your voting cards high and say no. The resolution has carried. Thank you. Wow.
Wow.
You know what? This is what it's about, though, guys. This is what it's about. Our delegates have spoken.
That's
Okay.
right. That's right.
It is, we go till 12, so we have time. We do go, you do need to sign it. Yeah, you need to sign it. We are going to go to 12, so I believe we're going to go forward
Yes, we are.
on the next new resolution.
Okay, great.
What page?
We are on page 54.
Thank you.
Motion.
We all set?
We're going to move on. Motion. Madam President, by direction of the Resolutions Committee, I move the adoption of new Resolution Number 2, Education on the Safe Use of DEET. Whereas the use of DEET as a chemical repellent raised safety concerns in past studies, and whereas more current studies have found DEET to be safe when properly used and applied, and whereas Zika and other insect and tick-borne illnesses against which DEET has been proven to be extremely effective are a bigger cause of concern, now therefore it be resolved that the New York State Congress of Parents and Teachers Incorporated urges units and councils to educate parents, teachers, and the community on the correct usage and potential dangers of incorrect usage of products containing DEET.
Oh. She went faster than I thought.
I'm good. I'm so good.
Thank you. Does the maker of the resolution wish to speak in support? You will have 2 minutes to speak. The chair recognizes delegate at microphone 1.
Pat Acetato, New York State PTA Resolutions Committee. Every year, an estimated 1/3 of the United States population use DEET to protect them from mosquito-borne illnesses like West Nile virus, the Zika virus, or malaria and tick-borne illnesses like Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Nothing else has the same proven history of efficacy in the battle against these diseases. If used as directed, DEET is considered safe by many public health organizations, including the Environmental Protection Agency, the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the World Health Organization. DEET is among those chemicals recommended by the World Health Organization for protection against disease-carrying mosquitoes and is the only repellent recommended by the CDC to protect against Lyme disease. EPA studies continue to prove that the normal use of DEET does not present a health concern to the general population, including children. DEET is approved for use on children with no age restriction. There is no restriction on the percentage of DEET in the product for use on children. In addition, doctors recommend using DEET in concentrations between 20 and 50%. The idea is that lower concentrations require people to reapply more frequently. As always, consumers are advised to read and follow label directions in using any pesticide product. According to the CDC, DEET products used as directed should not be harmful. The American Academy of Pediatrics states, one way to protect your child from biting insects is to use insect repellents. However, it's important that insect repellents are used safely and correctly. The Academy offers tips for using repellents safely. PTAs can provide a valuable service by educating their members and communities on the safe use of DEET products in order to protect themselves and their children from serious bug-borne diseases.
Time has expired. Thank you. There is a statement of concern at microphone 3. The chair recognizes the delegate.
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Such great discussion. I hate to bring this up, but thank you. I request that the air be turned down in here. It's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we can do that. I'm looking to see if the person to do that's around. Thank you. The chair recognizes the delegate at microphone 2 with a motion against.
Motion to amend.
Thank you.
And add at the very end of the resolution the following words: using the most current available positions of reliable medical experts, such as the American Academy of Pediatric Medicine.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So I'm just going to repeat the motion. I move to add, quote, using the most current available positions of reliable medical experts such as the American Academy of Pediatric Medicine, unquote. Okay.
May I defend that?
Would you like to speak?
Please. Thank you. The point of this amendment is that when PTA is educating parents, teachers, and others, we need to be very clear not to rely on information that's provided by the manufacturers of these products containing diethyl methacrylate or any other proven toxic and carcinogenic chemicals. Nor can we rely on research funded by these industries either. The only reliable, trustworthy sources for information to share with parents, teachers, and others is that provided by medical organizations whose main and unbiased concern is the health and wellness of children and youth. PTA cannot leave this area vague and open to interpretation, especially when some statements made by government agencies, unfortunately, are not reliable sources. These are the same agencies that at one point declared that nicotine is safe for consumption by humans.
Is there any other discussion on the amendment on the floor? Okay. All of those in favor of the amendment, please raise your voting cards high and say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your voting cards high and say no. The amendment has passed. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion as amended? Are you ready? Then we are ready to vote. Beg your pardon? We just had a question on the actual name of the American Academy of Pediatric Medicine, and we've just confirmed that's editorial. If we have to just verify the exact naming of that. So, okay, so the maker of the amendment, we're asking, there is an actual American Academy of Pediatric Medicine? Yes, there is. Okay. 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 Then we will go forward and we will do the vote. All those in favor On the resolution as amended, please raise your voting cards high and say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please raise your voting cards high and say, if you're opposed, high, say no. Thank you. Motion has carried, or resolution has carried. And that's it, right? Thank you, Dana and the Resolutions Committee. Guys, please stand up. Didn't they do a great job, guys?
I would like to just take this opportunity to thank the members of the Resolutions Committee. This is a group of individuals like no other. I'm privileged to work on this resolutions process with them. It is a year-long process, and we live, eat, and breathe these resolutions. We know everything about everything in this book, and we are experts on it all, and only because of the work that we do together and what they have done. And I cannot thank you all enough. Thank you.
Thank you. I will. Okay. Once again, I would like to refer you to our sponsor and exhibitor directory that you received with your registration materials. And you will also see a listing of all our Alliance partners, sponsors, and exhibitors. We thank them all, and please stop by. I'm going to have Lori May come up in a moment. I was given, though, just a couple of additional ones, Lori, while you're walking up. Please remind everyone that Saturday before lunch, you only have a few hours left to shop at the PTA store. It closes at 3. Stop by for some cool deals to cuddle in for a PTA year. This is from Gail. Okay. First-timers group photo is scheduled for 12 o'clock. Should we, it may be rescheduled to 12:30 because of the candidates forum. So I would take this to mean that the first-timers group photo will take place after the candidates forum that will follow here at 12 o'clock to 12:15. Also a reminder that voting will be over here in the wedge room from 12 to 2. You need to bring your green voting card. Do not rip off the top. They need to rip that off for you because then they will give you a ballot in return. Okay, Lori?
I just have a question. Since the voting was coming, do we need to amend the program where there's an error about the...
I wouldn't worry at this point. I wouldn't.
Okay, so I'm not saying
You're
this
there.
because you already said about the PTA
okay.
store. Sorry. Those who have accepted invitations for the President to President's Luncheon, I remind you that it will be held immediately following this general session in the Broadway Room. Lunch for all other delegates will be in the Saratoga Ballroom. You will need lunch tickets to enter the luncheons. If you have concerns, please see Carol Raymond. We just mentioned about the picture for the first-timers. I just have one more piece of business. Last night, this power supply was found in Broadway Room 3. If anybody lost their power cord, please see me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori. The third general session will begin promptly at 2:30 p.m., followed by workshop session 2 from 4:45 p.m. to 6:15. Unless there is an objection, I'm looking at every light. We are adjourned until 2:30 this afternoon. The candidates forum will start at 12 o'clock, right here, right here. Thank you. Yes, it will be right here. Thank you. I was going to ask.